Honorable secrétaire parlementaire du ministre de la Défense nationale.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Et je tiens au tout début à dire jusqu'à quel point c'est un honneur de pouvoir faire un discours dans cette Chambre à propos de ce projet de loi suite à mon honorable collègue de Medicine Hat, quelqu'un qui connaît ce dossier aussi bien que n'importe lequel autre député dans cette Chambre et dont les perspectives ont été très appréciées, je sais, de tous les côtés de cette Chambre. My remarks today, Mr. Speaker, will touch on three basic points. First, how this Jobs and Growth Act 2012 meets an absolutely critical international challenge for Canada, for all of the advanced economies of the world. We're not living in normal times, Mr. Speaker. We're not working in normal times. These are extraordinary times, in some ways dangerous times. The second point will point to some of the key ways in which this bill strengthens Canada's job advantage. My colleague spoke of a bill that focuses really only on jobs and growth, but we need to continue explaining to this House and to Canadians just how concrete the measures are and just what impacts they will have in our ridings. And thirdly, I'd like to speak to the local relevance of this bill for my home riding of Ajax-Pickering. It's a national action plan for Canada's economy, but it's very, very concrete and very, very helpful for entrepreneurs, for workers, for young people in Ajax-Pickering, in the Greater Toronto Area, and in the part of Canada that I call home. So first, on the international context. We've been through a week, Mr. Speaker, in which extraordinary things, complimentary things, have been said about the Canadian economy and Canada's financial management of its affairs. The managing director of the IMF, as everyone knows, was in Toronto to receive an award last week. She praised our financial sector again. She praised our prudence. She praised many of the policies this government has brought forward as examples to the world. And this comes on the heels of a litany of compliments that have been paid to Canada in recent years for the way that we came through the economic crisis, for the way that we avoided the levels of debt, job loss, contraction of GDP that other countries have had to endure. And we've heard these measures of our success from the World Economic Forum, from Forbes magazine, from The Economist. I won't repeat them now. But our success, Mr. Speaker, is a contingent success. It depends on continuing to do the right things, continuing to position Canada properly, continuing to watch and learn from what is happening around the world to make sure that we stay at the forefront of events and that we protect the advantage we have for future generations. And I'd like to quote, Mr. Speaker, very briefly from the IMF communique of the Policy Steering Committee. I think it's the most recent IMF communique from October the 13th. Just one sentence. The implementation of credible medium-term fiscal consolidation plans remains critical in many advanced economies. Mr. Speaker, you know as well as I do what that statement means. It means that if we don't get spending under control, if we don't make it sustainable, if we don't continue to create jobs, remain competitive, trade while keeping our debt levels under control, many economies in Europe, in Asia, even in the Americas, could go down the same path that we have seen Greece, Ireland, Portugal go down. The same communique mentions how positive it is that there is now outright monetary transactions being undertaken by the ECB, how important it is that the European security mechanism is now working to some extent. But then it points to high debt burdens, banking, the absence of banking and fiscal union in Europe as continuing risks. In Japan, there's a challenge this week of financing the budget and of further fiscal consolidation. In the United States, the same communique mentions the danger of a fiscal cliff, the need to move the debt ceiling in spite of an election that hasn't yet concluded, and the fiscal sustainability of trillion-a-year deficits. These cautionary notes are struck with regard to our peers, the other advanced economies. Canada has avoided these pitfalls thanks to the prudence and the good planning of our Prime Minister, of our excellent Minister of Finance. And it's absolutely essential, Mr. Speaker, that we understand how fraught with danger it would be for Canada to go down the path that the Greeces, Portugals, and other jurisdictions with high taxes, high debt loads, loss of competitive position have gone down. And that's exactly what the member for Outremont is proposing with his $21.5 billion carbon tax. That is exactly what all of the NDP members who spoke on this bill are proposing with their...
Order. The honourable member for Timmins James Bay is rising on a point of order.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The member should not be using his speeches to supply misinformation to the House. There is no carbon tax, and he needs to be reminded of that and stop using his position in the House to further mistruths. The issue of putting a price on carbon was done by his government in 2008. He needs to be at least...
Order. The honourable members will know that these types of questions are really matters of debate. Don't see it really as a point of order. The honourable member for Ajax-Pickering.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's extraordinary that this member would stand on a point of order to deny something that was in a platform on the basis of which he campaigned. And the $21.5 billion carbon tax proposed by his leader, embraced presumably by all the members on that side, needs to be brought to the attention of Canadians and will be brought to the attention of Canadians. Because it is high taxes, Mr. Speaker, that kill jobs.
Honourable member for Timmins James Bay is rising on a point of order.
Page 680 of O'Brien and Boschkoff, you'll find that the Speaker has already ruled on efforts by members to bring up irrelevant issues that have nothing to do with the facts. He's once again trying to use his position in the House to create a political mistruth. I think he's bringing down the history of debate in this House, and I would refer you, Mr. Speaker, to the references that have already been ruled by the speakers of people trying to manipulate and undermine credible debate.
I appreciate the honourable member for Timmins James Bay's reference to relevance. Indeed, it is true that members are encouraged to include in their debates and their points matters that are pertinent to the questions before the House. That said, members will know that there is a great degree of latitude offered members in the way in which they explore these ideas and bring them around to the points that are in fact before the House, and members are left the opportunity to do just that. I will note that we are very near the time for statements by members, and I think I'll ask at this point that we'll give the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary 3.5 minutes remaining for his remarks when the House next returns to debate on this matter, and he'll of course have the normal 5 minutes for questions and comments.